producer and musician, who has testified before Congress that he does not think that rock music, dirty lyrics and all, should be censored.
Or rated.
John Lofton takes the other view. Mr. Lofton.
Yes.
You don't have to buy this, you know. You don't have to buy this music with dirty words.
Well, I guess my concern extends beyond my own family, beyond my own children. I'm concerned about the whole society, the whole country, other people's children, other people's families.
Can you control what your children buy?
No, not completely, but I try. I agree, and I want to say for the third time, I agree with Frank that is the first line of responsibility.
But you can't even control what your children.
No, as they get older, it's very difficult.
No, but you can control what they listen to in the house and the rock music.
But tell me how you can.
They're rarely in the house.
You hear it, so you just go up and turn it up.
Shut themselves up in the room, and you can't hear it.
I hear it. I turn it. I go up and I throw the record away.
You can't even hear half the things I tell you. You can't hear those things.
Look, all you're trying to get around is the fact that you have an individual responsibility, and I think Mr. Zappa is right. That's as far as it can go.
Well, but you know, one of the things that interests me is the seemingly totally different worlds that you and I live in, Mr. Zappa. For example, you told this hearing last September that in America, quote, there is a tendency to hide sex, unquote. That is the most ridiculous statement I've ever heard. Sex is everywhere in America. It's on TV, radio, videos, advertising. What do you mean we hide sex in America?
You do hide sex in America because given the choice between putting erotic sex into a television show or putting violence, usually it is the violence that is opted for.
How about both?
Putting both in?
Yeah.
Or you mean in combination?
Oh, I mean both. I mean the television is full of sex right now.
It's not really sex. It's just it's full of titillation.
How about advertising? Is that full of sex?
It's titillation.
I see.
Mr. Zappa, when somebody mentioned the videos, you said, hey, no, this is not it. Why don't you want to talk about the videos?
The reason I don't want to talk about the videos is the issue came up over the lyrics, and what they've done in trying to promote the issue. If rock videos did not exist, they wouldn't have had those flashy little bumpers to put on before each of the local news shows when they would do a story on this.
Do you feel differently about rock videos then, that they should be censored?
No, I don't. I just think that you shouldn't even discuss them when the topic is words.
But I mean, we can discuss anything we want.
Oh, sure. But apropos of this particular
But you think anything goes on the rock videos just like anything goes on the lyrics?
Sure.
I'm told that there is a rock video it's about to come out that has a school teacher undressing in front of a student.
It's out already. It's one of the ones they use for bumpers. They showed it at the Senate hearing. It's called Hot for Teacher, and the group is Van Halen.
What do you think of that?
I think it's amusing.
Amusing.
Do you think kids should see it? Why do you think the kids should see it?
I want to tell people what it's about a little bit. He thinks it's amusing that you might have a grade school class that is hot for teacher in a sexual way. Why is that amusing?
Why shouldn't it be amusing?
Well, you're not smiling. You don't look too happy about the video.
Well, why should I smile when I'm sitting here with you?
Well, you could fake it, Frank.
I like him better than you. Does that give you a rough idea of what's going on here?
Sure does. But, of course, I had that before I came here. What's amusing about it?
That is amusing to the people who like the concept of here comes the teacher. You expect the teacher to be sour. The music starts. The teacher takes off her clothes, and she is wearing some kind of a bathing suit like in a beauty contest and does a dance on the desk, and the kids look up, and they are having a good time.
Well, that's a real laugh riot, Frank. Now, look, one of the things I don't understand as someone who writes, why you have repeatedly denigrated words and said, well, something's just words. You know, Adolf Hitler used words very effectively. It was called the Big Lie, and what it resulted in was 6 million Jews being put into ovens. Now, why do you say that words aren't important and don't have consequences?
I didn't say the words weren't important.
What do you mean when you say just words?
This argument basically is about the 7 dirty words that the FCC complains about. And that's what it is. And I don't see any reason to keep people from hearing those syllables put together. Those are not magic words. That's not abracadabra. You're going to turn into something
when
you hear it.
You think?
Certainly they do. And it depends on how they're used and in what context. In fact, the big one, the one that starts with the F, has maybe about 15 different ways in which it can be used in language.
Mr. Zappa, you were talking about the social background of the Founding Fathers, so you're a student of American sociology. But let me ask you this. Do you think that this country, you get around this country a lot, I'm sure, do you think that the lyrics of these songs reflect the real spirit of this country?
It reflects certain aspects of the spirit of this country.
You think it does?
Yeah, and see, if you don't like the spirit, then change the things that make the spirit happen. In other words, if you have kids that are rebellious, and you have kids who are hopeless, you have kids who go to drugs, then give them something to hope for.
Like what? What would you tell a kid he ought to hope for nowadays, Frank?
What I tell kids, and I've been telling kids for quite some time, is first, register to vote, and second, as soon as you're old enough, run for something.
And you really think that's going to give kids hope to tell them to go register for vote?
Mr. Zappa, when you
Well, I don't know whether it makes them commit suicide, but I think it gives them a little bit more hope.
Mr. Zappa, when you were testifying in Annapolis yesterday, I think, or this week at any rate, they had some kids from New York picketing outside who were from a school for the mentally disturbed, and they said that that rock music almost ruined their life. Rock music really disturbed them. Didn't that give you some pause as to maybe you were making, if you might be in error on this question?
Well, see, you're in error as to where those kids came from. It's not a school for the mentally disturbed. It is a place called Freedom Village, run by a man named Pastor Fletcher A. Brothers, a Christian organization. He collects money for it. They have a farm in upstate New York. I've debated Pastor Brothers on the radio before. I've also seen his literature. Basically, what he has done is taken the children who have come to his place for rehabilitation. I don't know where he gets them, who sends them, but he carts them around the country in the Freedom Village bus and makes them go in and testify as to all the bad things that happened to them before they came to his place, and then he connects it to rock music. You know, wait a minute. But let me tell you some of the things that are included in this man's literature. He sends out this folder, it's about this thick, that has a list of different people in rock and roll, their names, their records, and their crime against humanity, so to speak. Some of the people who are included in this list are Stevie Wonder, and his crime is that he has an album that mentions astrology. In his folder, there are 2 or 3 mentions of astrology and maybe 3 or 4 mentions of Hinduism. He cites The Who because they had a Hindu prayer on one of their albums. And I questioned him on the air.
Let me ask you about something you said. I want to talk now. You've talked for a little while, okay? I think your answer about where hope is supposed to lie shows the bankruptcy of what once used to be the radical message. We have millions of kids in this country, Frank, who may be suicidal, who see no meaning in life, who see no hope in life, and you're going to tell them that the hope is in registering to vote, Frank? Are you serious?
Are you trying to dissuade them from registering to vote? Are you just trying to dissuade those kids from running for office? Is that what you're doing?
I mean, we're talking about kids that don't know the meaning of life, Frank, and you tell them to vote?
We are out of
That's no answer.
We want to thank Mr. Zappa for being our guest on Crossfire, and John Lofton for being our guest on Crossfire. Bob and I will be back in just a minute. Bob, I take it you don't like the records any more than I do, but who's to be the censor? Should you be?
Well, I don't know about that either. I'm a First Amendment man, but I'll tell you what I do know, Tom, and I think you'll agree with me. The idea that parents are going to tell their kids what they can and what they can't hear in this day and age is ridiculous. I mean, they're no more able to censor their kids than the government is, than you want the government to censor everybody else.
No, some of them will get the records, but I just don't think it's possible to draw the line for somebody to sit and say Stevie Wonder is all right and this guy's got to go.
I'll tell you where the censorship should come from. It should come from the industry, and they should have a little more self-policing and a little more self-control, in my opinion.
I think that's a good idea. From the left, I'm Tom Braden. Good night for Crossfire.
From the right, I'm Robert Novak. Join us again next time for another edition of Crossfire.
If you would like to comment on tonight's program, write to CNN Crossfire, 111 Massachusetts Avenue Northwest, Washington, D.C., 20001.